Hello. Yeah, forgot to open up the camera lens. That might help. I've only been doing this, for like 4 or 5 years. Thank you. Welcome to Overtime. Wow, Nick, I'm really enjoying this YouTube script you're writing. It's a little bit less snarky, and I have to work. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. So let me actually I do want to let me just get one other quick thing sorted out here, and then we're gonna remarkable footage to show you guys as usual. So I've been adjusting the camera and everything here, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm assuming you can hear me. That's not usually a safe assumption on this show, but let's go with that until I get 16 DMs saying otherwise. All right. So North Korea has fired at least one suspected ballistic missile into the sea, making it the 9th missile test for the year 2022. A student shot and wounded an administrator today and a resource officer at Kansas City High School and was injured when the officer returned fire. For now, those are the sort of two biggies that we're doing. We're going to start trying to include a little bit more national stuff as we go, but those are the two biggies. AP fact check has confirmed that Russian tanks are not being sold on Wait, no, that can't be right. Yeah, Jimmy, can we get a AP fact check confirms that Russian tanks aren't being sold? I bid on one. No, I did. Like $4, but it had no minimum, and it's just, Okay. I'm sure I can buy that. I want a tank. They got spares. Just saying. Just like lightly used. There's a hole in it, I guess. But okay. That would be depressing. Fox News national security reporter has drawn attention for publicly criticizing and contradicting reports on Fox News Live made during interviews, firing back on claims that the invasion wasn't going to happen or that it would be Obama's fault for setting a precedent with Crimea. Meanwhile, Ukraine is asking drone enthusiasts civilian drone enthusiasts who have private drones to help out and to engage in surveillance and intelligence gathering in the war area. Meanwhile, CNN, BBC, Bloomberg, as well as ABC, NBC, and others have all said that they're going to stop broadcasting in Russia. Changes to the criminal code have made it virtually impossible. The Bloomberg's editor-in-chief, John Micklethwaite, has written. He said these changes, quote, seem to be designed to turn any independent reporter into a criminal purely by association, making it impossible to continue any semblance of normal journalism inside the country. As of this moment, anyone who calls the war in Ukraine, quote, a war on social media, in print or broadcast, will be guilty of a criminal offense punishable by 15 years in jail. What's worse is that today a law has been floated before their parliament, which would enable anybody who is jailed for that crime to be conscripted into the army against their will in order to fight in Ukraine. So protest the war in Ukraine, you'll be fighting the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia has announced that it will block access to Facebook and other social media. Twitter, it looks like. A number of these have already gone down anyway. YouTube is no longer doing ads in Russia, meaning that all Russian videos are demonetized and all videos showing in Russia will be demonetized. Shoot, there goes our Russian contingent. We're probably in the negatives over there. At any rate, Russia has, the UN has been requested for a third time now to set up a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Actually, it's not UN. NATO has requested, once again, a no-fly zone over Ukraine. It has been denied. It will likely be denied for almost certainly for the rest of the war. NATO doesn't want to do that because that sets up NATO planes fighting against Russian planes, and nobody wants to start World War III. However, Microsoft, Airbnb have also now all cut ties with Russia. That doesn't seem like that's necessarily huge, but Microsoft is no longer offering any kind of support for their products, which, as it turns out, needs a lot of support. Just saying. Porpoise will fill you in on that one. She knows how to. She offers the ultimate support for Windows products. She knows how to fix all Windows products. Ask her about that. At any rate, let's see. The city of oh, Jesus, it sounds like Middle Earth, to be quite honest. Enerodar, which is home to the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, has now fallen to the Russians. The entire city is under Russian control. The power plant appears to be secured and is now under control of the Russian army, who are reportedly forcing workers at gunpoint to stay and operate the plant. Ostensibly, this is because that's a highly specializing that's a highly specialized field, so they're keeping the workers there. Meanwhile, let's see. The U.S. ambassador called the attack on the power plant reckless, and a top U.S. official said indeed it would have been catastrophic, or could have been catastrophic. UN ambassador said that the world, quote, narrowly averted a nuclear catastrophe, calling it reckless and dangerous. In Mariupol, Russia has begun targeting civilian infrastructure, trying to get the city to surrender. The city's mayor says they have less than 4 days' worth of food, and that the 4-day bombardment has been merciless, no breaks, just constant shelling, and they are out of 4 days, less than 4 days of food, already out of supplies such as baby food, diapers. Hospitals are running low on supplies, including medicine and first aid kits. The German Chancellor, don't tell him I called him Gremlin. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, I think it is, spoke with Vladimir Putin today, calling on him to immediately cease all hostilities and to allow for humanitarian aid in Ukraine. You don't need a news show to tell you how that went. The 40-mile long Russian column, which is stalled outside of Kiev, remains stalled, according to satellite footage. And so U.S. intelligence is saying that it is largely the result of logistical challenges and fierce resistance by Ukrainian forces. We believe now, and there's been several reports on this, that it's actually the biggest problem is the tires. Maintenance is certainly an issue, and we were speaking with one of our resident military experts, Dorito, who was in the live chat last night, and told us that in his experience, whenever you have a convoy of this size, 10% of the vehicles, in fact, need to be explicitly for support, and you need to be able to replace 10% of the vehicle. You have to carry enough to completely rebuild like 10% of the vehicles, because that's how much supplies you're going to go through. The tires in particular need maintenance. They need to be used regularly or dry rot. You get a lot of dry rot in them, and they fail very rapidly. And these were apparently Chinese knockoffs of Michelin tires, and very inexpensive, at least relatively inexpensive. And there's reports now that the biggest problem is the failure of tires on multiple vehicles as they approached, and they just continued to slow down, and now stopped just 10 miles outside of Kiev, which is utterly stunning. So let's see. Also, Russian airborne are reporting losses much higher than expected, and they're having difficulties meeting up with the convoy and supplying it. The use of cluster bombs appears to continue. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that they continue to get reports of the use of this weapon. Quote, "We have seen the use of cluster bombs, and we have seen reports of the use of other weapons, ostensibly the vacuum bomb, which would be in violation of international law," he said in Brussels today. Cluster bombs are banned, both because they scatter unpredictably over just a wide area, and because, unfortunately, they don't all necessarily detonate. And you can get smaller, really small bombs that are hidden, impossible to see, that haven't detonated and are just scattered in whatever area they've been left, and can explode long after the fighting has ended. And for the 5th day in a row, Western officials, from the president of France to the U.S. U.S. ambassador to the UN, have said that at this point they expect things will continue to get significantly worse before they start to get better. Meanwhile, for the first time since the war has started, the White House has said that it is weighing in on, oh dear Lord, we'll get into this. We'll get into a couple of others. I'll show you the footage. Weighing in on bans of imported Russian oil. The energy sector has actually largely been ignored by the sanctions. A number of reasons. We've discussed this once or twice before. but we have not banned Russian oil. Russian oil makes up about 3% of the oil imported into the U.S. It wouldn't be a huge blow to our economy. Problem is, if everybody bans it, that would do significant damage to an already damaged economy. So right now, it looks like the Biden administration is considering just banning it in the U.S. That basically doesn't do anything. And the reason is because the U.S. is going to find another source for that 3%. Well, that 3%, Russia will still just sell to somebody else. It's a market. They'll find another buyer for that 3%, and then we'll buy the oil that other buyer would have otherwise purchased. This isn't that complicated. It looks like it's going to have no effect, and to the best of my understanding, economically, this is just to show that they're doing something. Let's see they're going to get oil from a country one way or another. So I want to show you guys some footage here, and the one that I promised you this one last night, and we didn't have it loaded. We now have it available. This is it's not graphic. I mean, it's war, but we're not expecting overly graphic footage tonight for those of you who are, but you're still going to see explosions. This is clearly a residential area, and this is it looks like a huge number of missiles striking simultaneously. I'm going to full screen this one. I think it's worth seeing full screen. So you're about to see a lot of explosions. Let's move forward with this. Actually, let me put on the audio, and we'll see what we got here. This is a pause of all of the projectiles, literally seconds before they hit. This is a civilian area. No military anywhere in sight.
Пиздец. И это они, блядь, не бомбят дома жилые? Это пиздец.
I'm going to rewind that. We'll show that one more time. Actually, it's almost done. That's from the New York Times. Let's show that one more time. You can get a pretty good idea. This is a residential area. There's nothing here, but so this was from yesterday. So we're just a day behind on this one, and it just happened to catch all of that right before, and there we are. All right. So, and then let's see. I think that one is this just sort of a, actually this looks like a somewhat better copy of it. So let me give this one a shot, and we'll see if this can, no, I think this is maybe the same one. It's just, yeah, it's the same copy. We've also seen, I think, this one before, but it's worth just sort of an overview of some of the damage that we've been seeing. And these are the civilian buildings. There's no military there that I'm aware of, and the reports are that there haven't been. Obviously, it's our word versus Russia. But having said that, so far, I've been far more impressed with our word. And then we're going to get into what we are looking at. I think for what we're seeing immediately. They have definitely stepped up their attacks. There are several cities that are at this point in danger of falling. It does not look like Kiev is one of them, but it's getting bad, and they clearly are targeting civilians at this point. I'm again, short of removing Putin, I'm not sure there's a solution to this. Lindsey Graham called for the assassination of Putin. That was interesting. The U.S. has come out and said that is not the official U.S. position. Yeah. Excuse me. All right. So, and then let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, yes. We're going to play one more for you. And this is, everybody made it okay. There were injuries. Everybody survived this okay, but it's quite a shocking thing that you're about to see here. We'll get audio on this. Could I just get a confirmation that the last audio played correctly? Actually, I'm thinking because I think one of the settings reverted. It's amazing how often this software just likes to revert your settings. So I'm gonna guess that you guys actually did hear an echo on that last one. So I'm going to switch this. Yep, you must have. You almost certainly did. So let me... all right. This one's, so like I said, this one's a little frightening. Everybody made it out okay. Well, not open. No. There was one reporter. This is a team that became under fire. At first, they thought they were under fire by Ukrainians. They were approaching a Ukrainian checkpoint. But it appears that there was actually a Russian saboteur team, at least that's what the reports are, and that the team was actually filled with experts, snipers, who were able to hit the vehicle from very, very far away. The cameraman received 2 rounds to the chest, but his body armor blocked both of them. One of them appears to have received a round in his back. He is okay, but he was wounded. This is Sky News. Yep. Okay. This is a Sky News team. They were approaching a Ukrainian checkpoint. At this point, what we believe is that this was not Ukrainians, that the checkpoint actually, there was a Russian saboteur team that began firing on them. It is crystal clear that the intent was to kill all of these journalists. They all did make it out alive, barely. So if there's an audio issue, please let me know. I can correct that. And otherwise, let's listen in.
The Ukrainian people are being attacked from the air, from artillery, from ground troops and tanks. The debris of this war litters every street. But the government has warned for days of Russian saboteurs who've infiltrated the country to bring terror. Death squads who are attacking civilians in their cars as they flee. They do exist, as we found out.
Oh, tyre, isn't it?
Oh, that's a bullet.
That was a bullet.
Sorry?
No, it wasn't a bullet.
It wasn't. Something blew up under us.
Something went bang. Oh, there's a big hole.
Okay. Oh,
There's a bullet.
okay.
Look.
Wait.
Whoa! Whoa! What? Whoa! 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 Stop! Where everyone?
We think it's a Ukrainian checkpoint and a mistake, so we identify ourselves.
British journalists! Journalists!
Journalists!
Journalista!
Can anyone? You alright, Stu?
Journalista!
Is everyone okay? You okay, Dom?
Yeah, I'm okay. Journalists!
Somehow we have to get out of this, but the rounds keep coming. It's a professional ambush. The bullets just don't miss.
Whoa!
Where can we go? Shall I crawl? Can we crawl down the embankment?
Andre! Whoa! Whoa! No! Stop! Stop! Journalist! Where are you
I'm
going?
hit, but escape the car, and with producer Dominic van Heerden, we make our way down the embankment.
Where are
Camera operator Richie Mockler has taken 2 rounds to his body armour, but is still stuck in the car. He runs for it in a hail of bullets.
Keep going.
Stuart? Come on, Stuart, I'm running.
The 5 of us have made it out of the car, down the embankment, and we just can't believe we're alive.
Let's go through there, behind that wall.
Go.
Go on then.
Go.
We run into a warehouse unit looking for cover.
Go.
Yeah.
3 caretakers beckon us inside.
Spasibo.
And we're like, is that Iran? And they didn't see that.
Producer Martin Vowell starts coordinating a rescue plan with Sky staff. We know any rescue will take hours. We're stuck, fighting outside. We've no idea what's going on.
We've got ourselves into a garage. Somehow we found our way in. There's 3 guys working here, and they've said we can stay, but there's a lot of firing going on outside. We don't know why. It appears to be a battle with mortars and shooting.
After a mammoth logistical effort, we were rescued by the local police. We were lucky, but thousands of Ukrainians are not. And every day, this war gets worse here. Stuart Ramsey, Sky News, Kiev.
All right, so just a reiteration of what happened there. It looks like what they're saying is that it was a Russian saboteur team. There are multiple teams that are going out and they're assassinating civilians. They are striking civilians as they flee, hitting the cars. Now, ostensibly, corridors have been set up for people to escape, but it's like, if you've got squads that are deliberately killing civilians and targeting them as they flee, that's dear Lord. So this was an ambush. They were approaching a Ukrainian checkpoint, and they were ambushed by what they say was a Russian a special team, an assassination team, essentially, that tried to kill all of them. One received 2 rounds to his vest. The other one was hit, but apparently it was not life-threatening. In terms of the oil embargo, just so that you guys understand where we are with that, they're considering it for the first time. They are considering sanctioning the Russian oil, which I think they really have to do. The problem is they are concerned about what that will do to an already fledgling economy. So the consensus is perhaps what they're leaning towards right now at the White House. Apparently, this is what from sources inside the White House are saying, is that the consensus is just ban it inside the U.S. So the U.S. will ban all its imports of oil. And then if the EU doesn't, the shock to the economy will be reasonably small. The reason the shock to the economy will be reasonably small is because only 3% of the oil that the U.S. gets is from Russia. We will easily be able to make that up from other countries, but the problem is Russia is still going to sell that 3%. They'll sell that to the EU. That's why the prices aren't really going to change. If we stop buying it, the price will actually is very small, not measurable. And in fact, the effect will you'll hit a equilibrium point instantly. So it happens so quickly. It's hypothetical. It's not what's going to happen is that 3% is still going to get sold. It's just going to get sold in the EU, slightly lowering the price in the EU. However, there is now a country that is short 3% on its oil, and that's the U.S., so the U.S. will buy that from the EU. Now, we may or may not buy the actual same oil. It doesn't really matter, because what's going to happen is, since the net demand is going to be the same, we're buying it from the EU, the price will go right back up, and the price will stabilize. Russia will sell exactly as much oil as they would have otherwise. We will buy exactly as much oil as we would have otherwise, and the prices will remain unaffected. All we've done is buy oil from another country out of the EU, and that 3% loss out of the EU is made up for Russia now having a 3% surplus because they're not selling to us. It does nothing. But ostensibly, they believe this is the only plan that they can really do. They're attempting to quell conservatives in Congress who are saying that they want to see tighter sanctions, but Biden does not want to be to oversee a huge crash in the U.S. economy. So the thinking is that, okay, they'll issue the sanctions. As long as the EU doesn't do it, there won't be any significant effect on the economy. Yeah, the sanctions will be meaningless as well. I mean, literally meaningless, because that oil just gets reshuffled. It's roughly the same thing as I've made this argument before. I get really ticked off. In my state, they still have a lottery, and it's like, well, a lottery's gambling. Apparently, citizens can't gamble, but the state can. But the state justifies it by saying that the money goes to schools. Well, that's really technically true, but it's not really true. And the reason is because it ends up in the budget. It's just money that's earmarked for the schools, but then what happens is the school budget gets slashed so that the money's roughly the same, and the money that otherwise would have gone to the schools goes to somewhere else in the budget. So even though on paper, yes, it's going to the schools aren't keeping the same budget. They're adjusting their budget based on what they think is going to come in from the lottery. So it's not really going to the schools. It's doing exactly what you'd expect it to do. It's going to the state that's spending it however they want. They just move the money around. So at any rate, that's what's going to happen if the U.S. is the only ones to do it. I don't know if this is going to get covered. Fox News will cover that, that's for sure. But I don't know how serious it seems to me. It's really kind of moot to do it, and it just wastes everybody's time. Having said that, it's a political win, and people who already like Biden will say, hey, he's really doing something. People who already hate Biden are going to sit there and say it's meaningless, and nothing's really going to happen. So if the EU says that they're going to do sanctions, the U.S. is considering not doing them. So nobody knows for certain. No decision's been made. That's what is the latest coming out of sources from the White House, is that that's the current plan, is so long as the EU does not do it, we'll do it. Dear Lord. All right. So where is the fighting, and what are we seeing right now? That column really hasn't moved, and you can see some of this area that the convoy had gone into seems to have been retaken a bit by the Ukrainians. The column had come in from right about there. Actually, I'm not sure you guys can see my mouse. You probably can't. And is stalled less than 10 miles out of. In fact, actually, if you take the tip of that, that's less than 5 miles out, and it's just stalled. Now, this means that there hasn't been the extensive attack on Kiev that everybody was anticipating, and it means that they have not been able to encircle Kiev. They've come pretty close, simply because, as you can see, they've got this airport here that's going to allow them to bring troops in, supplies, whatever they want, but they haven't actually gotten far out of that base. And then they've got a couple other areas, this one here, and I think another airport right here. So I think that airport's been contested several times. They are trying to get there, as you can see from. No, is that Kharkiv? I don't think that's Kharkiv. What is that? Okay, that is. Unfortunately, this is now where we're seeing a lot more fighting right here. And then where's the? Okay, this is the big one. This is the city of Sumy, and you can see it's basically a little more than half surrounded. And it's the little red dot right there, and there is now fighting in the streets. This map is actually just a little old, maybe about an hour. Actually, it's not, because it's not where the Russians are spotted. It's what they control. They don't control the city yet, but they're making a play for it, and there is fighting in the streets, street to street. This is one of those points again where they're basically just going by street names as opposed to coordinates, and so we do know that right now. There is fighting here. Residents have been asked to stay at home or shelter, find immediate shelter. But you can see they are trying to encircle it, and they may not have to because they're in the city. That would represent the second major city to fall. This is Kharkiv. They are still trying to encircle that. They haven't been able to, but they are shelling the living daylights out of that city, and they are targeting civilians. We've shown a number of pieces of footage. There's one that I like to show because it gives you a really good example of just what this looks like. I think that's no longer, we don't have that queued up, so I'll postpone that. I think actually, though, this I believe is Kharkiv, right there. So Kharkiv is under direct assault, and then the biggie that we've discussed before, Mariupol. Mariupol is right here. This road, M14, is critical to the invasion plan. They probably thought they'd have that. We don't know for certain because Putin is telling us what his plans were. But we believe they probably thought they could have that in about 12 hours. It's been going into the second week now, and they still don't have it. Once they get that road, they can resupply each area, actually, because they may well have supplies on this side of the border here. They haven't been invading. We talked to Commander McMillan about why that is, but they haven't been invading, but they want to combine these areas, and then they can start to just march forward, merge here, and go all the way up to the river. So that looks like that's going to be their plan. All of this is coming in from the border. You can see they've managed to take huge swaths here. Once they connect this is Crimea right here. This is their central staging area. There's several ports in Crimea. They've just been shuttling supplies in. So once they make this connection at Mariupol, they can supply this entire area, and then they can supply everything coming in from the north. They've got everything. So right now, this is the area they're most focused on. Right now, Mariupol has held, but they've been shelled straight for 4 days. Nobody slept. It's just 4 days shelling. They have less than 4 days left of food. They've run out of a good deal of supplies. Very low on medical supplies. This includes bandages. This includes medicine, antibiotics. Low on all of it. They are reporting no water, no food coming into the city, no sources. So they only have whatever they've got left in grocery stores or whatever, less than 4 days worth. And they're being shelled. So Russia is trying a two-prong approach here. Normally you try one with a city. Normally you just encircle the city and you'll shell it some, but you're not directly trying to hit the infrastructure if for no other reason. You want the infrastructure intact when you take the city, if you can. Or you just try to sort of starve them out and, you surround them. No light shelling, but, So, I'm sorry, that may have been my first. So light shelling is one. The other one is heavy shelling and just get them to surrender under the weight of it. They're trying both strategies at the same time here. This, right now, I expect is going to be the most brutal part of the war. The closest historical example, most recent, is the 900-day siege of Leningrad. If they fail to hold out, it's going to be the first real strategic win for Russia. They have captured a city that they were looking for earlier, and we've spoken about that, but this is the first real strategic one that they have failed to achieve and are trying to do. Mariupol will fall unless we can find a way to supply it from the water, which has been done before, but the problem is any supplies from the water are going to have to go through... let's get the mouse here. That. And that is Russian-controlled, and that's Crimea. That's the only way to get food there. So basically, they're surrounded, and there's absolutely nothing that anyone can do at this point. So probably the longest they can hold out realistically is 4 days. I don't know how likely it is that they're going to hold out that long. It's impossible to tell. It depends on the makeup of the city. But past 4 days, they're out of food, out of water. So we'll see what happens. I think that's unfortunately a humanitarian crisis brewing, and I don't think anybody can stop it at this point. So that's where we are. This is, I think the nuclear power plant was right here. Is this it? No, I don't think that's it. But this is Kherson. Kherson, yeah, it's Kherson. This is the first major city that they managed to take. And they're improving their strength on it. They are also going after the ports now. There's increased fighting at Odessa, and it looks like they are making a serious effort on all of the ports, probably in an attempt, obviously, to increase their supply lines. There is more reports that... hold on one second. I don't know why my brain's been forgetting the name of it. The other... This is like, I've had to ask the live chat for this. I keep wanting to say Donbass. Of course, it's not Donbass. It's Belarus is going to be entering the war. As of yet, to the best of my knowledge, they actually haven't committed troops. Now, they have had fighting with the border guards. They've had fighting at the border. They did go in about 10 miles. That's it. They haven't gone in since then. They haven't gone in any further than 10 miles, but the reports are there's going in. There's also reports of a convoy moving from Kazakhstan. And the report was that Kazakhstan may be entering the war on the side of Ukraine. At this point, we believe that is not accurate. They may be moving military, maybe defensive, we don't know, but all intelligence that I've seen says they're not planning on entering the war. In fact, they are staying the hell out of it. So it looks like it may just be wild speculation on the part of people who are seeing the troops moving, going, oh my God, what happens if they enter? To the best of our ability to discern at this point, they are not planning on entering the war. They are moving their military. A lot of countries are moving their military right now. So for people who are worried about Kazakhstan or asking about that earlier, it looks right now as if they are not interested in entering the war, and in fact, they've been very cool to Russia. Has asked them to. Russia has asked for troops and for supplies from Kazakhstan. So far, it appears Kazakhstan has refused. So I think that's that's where we stand. So I do apologize for this being a later show because of just any number of circumstances and a lot of streaming. It's tough to keep it always on schedule. We are shooting for usually 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to quickly hit the live chat and see if there are any questions that I maybe missed. Yeah, Belarus is bought and paid for, but Belarus is suffering. Belarus got a huge hit of the radiation from Chernobyl. So it's it's just like it was under Russian control at the time, and it's like, do you guys really remember what that was like? I mean, come on. But yeah. All right, so let me just quickly check the live chat. I'm not sure that there's anything. I think I caught all the questions. Yeah, and I've forgotten her name. Let me see if I've got that here. She's a correspondent for Fox News. And there was a spectacular. Okay, so her name is Jennifer Griffin, and she is their national security correspondent, and she has been destroying live on air other guests and even hosts of Fox News. Suggested that some of them were Putin apologists. Suggested that they know nothing about Ukraine. At one point, there was a number of a Fox host, I think Fox and Friends at one point, but also a couple others, where she came on and they were opining on the fact, this was 2 days before the war, they were opining on the fact that there's no way they're going to invade, and they were being utterly insane. It was actually really kind of sad and startling to watch. Like, well, how could they possibly know if Russia's planning on invading? They don't know. Why don't they just ask Putin? And this was Fox News. Why don't they just ask Putin? That's a Putin apologetic as far as I'm concerned right there, because this is an assumption that you're going to get an answer that's meaningful. But they said, they're like, oh, well, if he did go in, it would be, Obama's fault if they went in. And they also said that, it's like really because we have a weak president, we won't do anything about it, and saying, well, we should just go in and yada, yada, yada. And she came on and was just like, you're all idiots. She didn't quite say that, but you could tell that was the tone. And she said, before I talk, I have to push back on all these claims, because they're going in. We know they're going in. We know this from U.S. intelligence. This isn't a guess. We know this from multiple intelligence sources on other agencies. This isn't a false, whatever. We also know because they've been starting false flags and they've been starting cyber attacks. So they are going in. That's a fact. And the speculation that, well, gee, how do you know? We know. So, and he said he's not, so you don't even have to ask him. She also said something along the lines of, when Crimea was taken, there was actually bipartisan support for not sending the military in because nobody wanted to commit NATO to this. She's like, if you want to sit there and say that if they go in, we should start World War III, why don't you, just put that position on the table, because we're going to find out, because they're going in. She was just no nonsense. Let me get a picture of her. She was, and apparently she slammed Hannity. She's slammed a lot of people. What was the other one? I'm trying to remember. There was a colonel who came on and was being extremely dismissive of the war and the suffering, and she was just like, okay, yeah, clearly you're a bureaucrat and you have absolutely no idea. Now, she's been in the military, so yeah, I got the picture. That is why I do love this interface. So let me snag that picture. Let me get her up here. And apparently she's now extremely popular. I'm trying to figure out why she hasn't been pulled yet, and I think it's because she's really popular, and it's going to look bad if they pull her. So either they're going to manufacture something to try to get rid of her, or it was. I actually, you know what? I may just snag the clip. I may already have it. I wasn't going to play the clip because, in general, I don't like playing Fox News. It's noise. It's like nails on a chalkboard when Fox News plays. But, you know what? Let me see if I can snag the clip real quick. If I've got that in one of my things, and I probably do. It's a long clip is the other problem, so I don't want to play a 15-minute clip of Fox News. Believe it or not. Let's see. Okay, this does not have. Yeah. Okay, so we got a couple of different clips. So this one is by Hannity, Ducey, Harris Faulkner, and Greg Gifford. Oh, no, it's not all of them at the same time, but apparently she's pushed back on all of them. After Hannity criticized Biden on his Ukraine policy, she noted that every president since the fall of the Soviet Union has had the same policy. Ducey argued on Fox and Friends that the sanctions haven't... Oh, my God, yeah. Ducey said... I wanted to smack him when he said this. Let me see if I can get this. Ducey said, well, the sanctions have failed. Yeah, I think I can get it. Hold on a sec. So, since the sanctions have failed, isn't our military upset with Biden? And she's just like, what do you mean they've failed? They've been in place for a day. It's just like, they take time. So let me, let's see, I got a couple of these here. Yeah, some of them are pretty long, and I really don't like playing. Oh, dear Lord, yeah. There's a lot. You can look her up. I'll get the Ducey one and one other. So let's see if I can snag these. See if I can do it without getting advertising. I really don't want to just like snag and play the advertising off of Fox News. I think we got this here. And no, it's going to fight me. Let me give this one more shot. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if I can, I will snag it. A lot of these sites take some pains to prevent people from being able to download this stuff, and we have ways around it most of the time. On occasion, we get locked out, but usually we can just go in and ninja the stuff. The reality is it's because what we're doing is we're talking about it and we're commenting on it. It all falls under fair use. That doesn't mean they want to make it easier for us to snag. You know what I can do? I probably can't pull the audio if I do it that way, though. So I may just leave it to you guys to. It said I pulled it, but I don't see it here. So I'm going to make one more check. It says I got it, but I don't see it. So let me make one more check. If I don't have it, the Ducey one is just, and I mean, he's just like, well, the sanctions clearly failed. And it's like, dude. All right. Oh, here we go. Okay. So that was I see what happened. All right, let's give this a shot, folks. So, okay. I hate it when the sound starts running in the background. I get all confused. So if you guys have any other questions, put them in the live chat. Tag me. It makes them a lot easier if you just tag in time. It makes it just so much easier for me to find it. So I'm going to put these clips in now. There's a lot of clips and there's a lot of time, so I'm going to try to just get to kind of the juicy stuff. Let's see. This is... All right, so there's one. Let's see. Okay, here's one. And, the audio will still probably be, even though I fixed the audio, it doesn't like staying fixed. Welcome to vMix. Let me double check the audio, because my guess is it's going to be in the wrong channel. I'm going to get an echo. Yep, it's in the wrong channel. So we'll leave that up there so I can fix that easily. And here we go. I may also, for those of you who want to see, I'm not going to replay it, but we have a lot of new people joining us. If you go back about 15 minutes, you'll see a Sky News team under attack and essentially an assassination attempt on them. That was pretty, yeah.
Declaring for the first time so far that he now does believe that Vladimir Putin will militarily invade Ukraine. The president just getting off the phone with our European allies, who he says are united and determined and are preparing a massive amount of economic sanctions against the Russians, who he says is pushing out a massive amount of propaganda all over the place. And we don't know any more than that, is basically what he said. Greg Gutfeld, your reaction to what you heard? It sounds like it's happening.
I don't know what to believe, because they also had some interesting intel on Afghanistan. When he said it was hard to read Putin's mind, I get that. So why don't you just ask him? Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's always these.
I'm just going to say, for fuck's sake, Fox News. All right. We also had, I didn't want to play the white nationalists, the meeting, a white nationalist convention, and Marjorie Taylor Greene was there, and we have footage of them saying, multiculturalism is really underrated. If you take a look at China, you take a look at Russia, one of the reasons they're so successful is because they're not multicultural. And I was just like, if you think China's a success, if you think Russia's a success, you're an idiot, which he was a white nationalist, so I think that probably goes without saying. But then he was talking about, well, we need to encourage more white boys to be proud of their white heritage. It was disgusting. So it was Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've talked about it. There's no point, but, and then he said, yay, Putin, and everyone started cheering Putin's name. This is on U.S. soil. Dear. The world has changed. All right, let's continue.
Psychological barriers in these things. And it was, well, why don't you just ask him what's on his mind and just sit there? This is what we did with North Korea. This is why Trump de-escalated a psychological threat by actually asking the dude, what's your problem? And he removed a psychological threat from the table. Look, America would love for you to join the rest of the world and not be some regressive tyrant. But we're not planning on blowing you up. So maybe you could point your missiles somewhere else. And he goes, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, and he acts as if that was the end of it. That wasn't the end of it. North Korea is still testing it didn't work. It didn't last. It was they were playing him, and it worked.
You have to remove the psychological barrier. It would be interesting. There's only one person you need to talk to.
Right.
It's Putin. Right. Just ask him. Let him talk. There's something else going on here that feels very, very manufactured. I don't know what it is, but it just seems to me that
what it is.
Go for it.
It's Jake Sullivan.
Yeah.
Jake Sullivan is the national security advisor. He's in deep yogurt in the Durham probe, and he's been the one saying we have so much intelligence. An invasion is imminent. Mm-hmm. They said that last Friday. Yeah. It's the next Friday. Here we are. I don't think Putin is going to invade, and I don't understand why we're running point when Germany is the one who's got the most invested. They've got the energy relationship with Russia. Russia needs their money. They need their markets. Therefore, with a new chancellor, he should make his mark on the rest of Europe and cool things down with Putin. He's got a much better shot than the dum-dums in this administration who blew it in 2014, and they're going to...
Not for nothing, this wasn't the administration in 2014. Just saying.
Blow it again, and I know that because Kamala Harris is the point person.
Yes.
She's going to be repetitive. She's going to say the same thing.
That was President Biden at the White House declaring for the first time so far.
I know that because Kamala Harris is the point person.
Yes.
She's going to be repetitive. She's going to say the same thing over and over again, betraying her lack of knowledge on the entire situation. She's just going to go, we stand together. We are standing together. Here we are together. Standing. Mm-hmm. It's
don't forget the hashtag. There's got to be a hashtag.
Yes, there's always a hashtag with Kamala. But, the amazing part of it is that he's convinced that Putin has made the decision to invade. But he says it's hard to read his mind. So what are you basing that on?
Yes.
Okay, what are you basing it on? Did you talk to him? Or are you basing it on the fact that they've got the planes out, they've got the tanks that are, in position? They called the Russian Reserve, which apparently is only used when they're about to occupy. So Putin is playing this game, whatever it is, and he's got these nuclear drills that he's going to be doing these drills this weekend. Then you have to say, okay, are you basing it on that? Because if you are, it's just a game. Mm-hmm. And you don't know what Putin is doing. But I agree with you, Kennedy.
This is purportedly a news station. She doesn't know why we said that because there were very good. No, we weren't basing it just on that. That was a factor. We were sitting there saying, oh, hey, wow, they're really putting up the supplies that you would put up in order to invade this. But it wasn't just that. We reported. Hi, my name is Nick. I have a small YouTube channel that reports the news. And if Fox News would ever like to learn something about what's going on in the world before they broadcast, they can watch my show because we know more about what's going on than they do.
I really believe that Jake Sullivan and Blinken, they're a bunch of doofuses, and then you put the queen at the top of that, Kamala Harris, who doesn't know anything. We're sending her over there to tell them that we stand with the Ukrainians. First of all, we can't fight with the Ukrainians because they're not a NATO country. What are we going to do? Shake their hands when they come back from war? What is this all about?
Well, Leslie, it looks like the intelligence community believes and has told the president that they're going in. And that intelligence is either right or that intelligence is either wrong, and we just don't know that. But you could tell by the president's somber tone, and this was pretty somber, that he thinks it's happening any day now. This was different than he usually is.
His tone was different, I agree, but the message is the same.
I appreciate knowing that. Apparently, the intelligence that we had was either right or it was wrong. For fuck's sake.
And look, if it has a bill and it has webbed feet and it quacks, it's a duck. And when you look at over 10 years of what Vladimir Putin has done, first of all, Vladimir Putin has wanted Ukraine as bad as a teenage boy has wanted the centerfold and Playboy since before he was Vladimir Putin.
Really badly.
And in addition, when you have 90,000 additional troops, you have 150,000 troops there right now. 1, 2. You have these small cyber attacks, and that's how they start, and then they escalate. And then 3, you have this propaganda. That's the MO for the invasion. That's what he did last time, and that's what he's done before. So why would he be doing anything differently now?
But why didn't Obama stop him in 2014 when they annexed Crimea and when they declared a war back then?
Obama thought World War III wasn't worth Crimea, and you can argue about that if you want to. That's the fucking choice the president of the United States is often stuck with. It sucks either way. It's lose-lose.
Well, you brought up a very good point, and you took one of my points. But
I did. I didn't know that.
1, Ukraine is not a NATO country. And 2, this is one area where we have bipartisan support. Even though it's symbolic, the Senate has passed a resolution echoing the sentiments of the president, both Democrats and Republicans. We don't want military involvement now. We didn't want it when Barack Obama was president.
Yeah, but he actually annexed Crimea. I mean, that's pretty significant.
Yeah,
okay, so what she just said here was, we should have done it because we should have gone in because he annexed Crimea. So by extension, she is now saying we should go in if he tries to attack Ukraine and tries to annex all of Ukraine. So at this point, what she's saying is NATO should get involved, or at least the U.S. should get involved. That's what she's saying, and I know she doesn't believe it.
What are you going to do there, though? Let's get some reaction to Joe Biden's speech from Jennifer Griffin, who is live at
folks, enjoy.
The Pentagon. All right, Jennifer, you heard what he said. It looks like he thinks Putin's going in. What changed so significantly, do you think, in the last 24 hours?
Well, Jesse, I think, first of all, I need to level set with the conversation I've just been listening to. What we are witnessing right now is not something that just changed in the last 24 hours. If you go back to notes that I've been sending out for the last 2 weeks, this is something we've been watching in terms of you have commercial satellite imagery, you have the buildup of forces, the type of forces, the numbers of forces, things that we've been told in advance to look for in terms of some of the disinformation that is already starting to appear, the false flag operations in the Donbass region. All of that is ticking up. This is something that through a web of intelligence sources, as well as the surveillance imagery that you can see with your own eyes, this is something that has been expected. They have been watching it very closely, and they feel that they are now in the final hours and days in which there is still a small possibility to try to get Putin to accept the off-ramp of diplomacy. But as you heard from President Biden, and it is extremely significant, what he just said in terms of, from his point of view, Putin has already made a decision. That coincides with what I am hearing here at the Pentagon, from Western intelligence sources, from Western allies. This is a very different situation than I've heard comparisons to the Iraq War and WMD. And well, how do we know? We're seeing it with our own eyes. If you can't look at the kind of Iskander missile battalions that are now in Belarus, 30,000 Russian troops there, half of his Air Force has now been deployed toward Ukraine. I'm told in just moments ago from a senior defense official that 40% of his 190,000 troops who are on the border with Ukraine are now in attack positions. That is something that we have been waiting for. They were in those barracks. They are now moving into assault positions. They could move in a matter of hours or days. And this is something that needs to be watched closely. This is not some backwater. This is Europe. This is one of the largest military actions being threatened to redraw the map of Europe since World War II. It's going to be bloody. We've heard estimates that 50,000 civilians will be killed, 1 to 5 million refugees will be sent on the road. The level of destruction and the bloodiness of this invasion, if it moves forward, and again, they are doing what they can to try and get Lavrov and Blinken to meet and to say that if there's an invasion before that meeting on Wednesday, that then those sanctions and everything else goes into place, and we're in a whole different world at that point. But right now, every American should be watching this and knowing that this is deadly serious. This is not some wag the dog situation. To even mention the Durham probe in the same sentence as what we know and what we can see with our own eyes in terms of the military buildup and knowing what Vladimir Putin is capable of. I served in Moscow from 1996 to 99. I watched as Vladimir Putin rose. I remember the apartment blocks that were blown up by his KGB, his FSB, as a pretext to go into Chechnya. Go look at those images of Chechnya and how carpet bombed Chechnya was when the Russian military moves in. This is not a precision, small, pinpointed strike. This will be the full weight of the Russian military going into Ukraine if someone doesn't stop it in the coming days.
Jennifer Griffin, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, let's get her off air quick. So there you go. They accidentally aired somebody who knew what they were talking about. Clearly, there's something wrong with the vetting process at Fox News. Let me do this other one, and this isn't the most brutal one that we got. I haven't. We may play it, but I really don't want to keep playing Fox. It hurts to play Fox News. But let's. I'll put this one. Actually, we'll put that there. And this is another pretty good one. Let me just quickly double check on the audio because I don't even need to check. I know for a fact it's going to be wrong. But it's a quick 10-second fix here. So we'll correct the audio here and here, and we should be good. Perfect. So let's listen to this one. Oh, dear Lord.
No kidding. They're running for their lives. Jennifer Griffin continues our coverage live from the Pentagon. Jennifer, we know that we haven't really seen the Pentagon do much because there are no troops involved. But the sanctions have not worked. Are the people at the Pentagon frustrated that our U.S. response has not been different?
No, I wouldn't say that, Steve. In fact, they knew that they had limited options going into this because Russia, of course, is a nuclear power, and NATO and the U.S. are not going to go to war with Russia over Ukraine. Their goal right now is to contain this and keep this from spilling over into an Article 5 nation. You talk about how the sanctions haven't worked. I don't know if that's really that we can say that yet. Overnight, the stock market in Russia fell by half, 50%. This is just the beginning of what is being described to us as a shock and awe, if you will, of rolling sanctions that have not even begun to be felt yet by Putin, by his oligarchs, by the cronies there. So the Pentagon, I would not expect to hear from them publicly because they do not want to be seen as being in a war with Russia right now. You're going to see them go quiet. They're going to obviously be keeping us informed about what they're seeing. But what will happen now is this will move to NATO, to the Secretary General, who we just heard has called the Atlantic Council. What you can expect from there is will NATO and the Atlantic Council call up those 40,000 NATO-ready forces, which would then fall under the command of the Supreme Allied Commander, an American general named General Todd Walters, who's the head of European Command. Are they going to do that? Are they going to place them in the Baltics and in Romania and in Poland?
I'll say this: if you don't see that this is coming from Fox News, you wouldn't be able to tell. That was. She is a hero. She is my hero at this point. Holy smoke! Let me play one more. I don't know how long I'm going to let this one go. I haven't even heard this one yet. This is one of the ones I haven't heard. I'll see if I can just go straight to where she kicks in because she apparently really
time about 5 a.m. Following a televised.
I just came out of a briefing
live at the Pentagon. That is quite a threat. Following a televised message released by President Vladimir Putin, where he announced a special military operation. In the video, Putin seems to threaten the United States, warning that countries attempting to interfere with Russian actions would face, quote unquote, consequences they've never seen. National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin is live at the Pentagon. That is quite a threat.
Well, Harris, it's actually ballistic missiles that Russia is targeting Ukraine with, and there have been more than 100 of those ballistic missiles fired overnight. I just came out of a briefing with a senior U.S. defense official in which we got the latest update, and I was told we would describe this as the initial phase. Expect this to unfold in multiple phases. They are advancing right now, the Russians, on three main axes of assault: from the south, from Crimea to a town called Kherson in the center of the country, and from the north, from Belarus, on two axes to Kiev, the capital, from the northwest and northeast. These are two lines of attack toward the capital. Third line of attack, I'm told, is toward Kharkiv. That is that second largest city in the east of Ukraine. The heaviest fighting is around Kharkiv, we're told, including air insertion of Russian forces there. Also, heavy fighting at the Kiev civilian airport. They have every intention, this official says, every intention of decapitating, his word, the government and installing their own government. The invasion began at about 9:30 p.m. Eastern last night, just before dawn, local time. More than 100 ballistic missiles, barracks, ammo depots, and
Well, I want to move this. So this is the invasion that they said wasn't going to happen. And she knows her shit. Jesus.
moved into those positions to bolster NATO's eastern flank. Harris?
Well, look, you threw a lot of
Facts. Sorry. She needs to know her audience. This is not an audience that's really interested in,
ammo and might, military might at us. Were we aware of the components of this, not just troops on the ground, but how much they were bringing in from Russia?
Absolutely, Harris. We've been reporting for weeks now, laying out the declassified intelligence that have been shared with us in a very unusual way for the U.S. government and Western intelligence.
We'll move this just a bit further.
Saw
Like I
that
said, I
the
don't
Russian
like playing
stock
Fox
market
News.
fell by half today.
Yeah, have you seen ours? And all those barrels of oil.
That was the part where they will very limited abilities to prevent this invasion. They tried, but now comes the part where they will squeeze Russia. You saw that the Russian stock market fell by half today.
Yeah, have you seen ours? And all those barrels of oil that they just hiked the price up. We'll get into it a little bit later in the hour.
Oh, nice ambush there. Yeah, I'm going to tell you why I'm right, but we won't discuss it right now. Oh.
But the reason I asked you that question is, since early October, we saw this coming. And we've had general after general tell us that the sanctions were not going to work because they were already baked into the cake as assets were being put into place. So when you say we saw this coming, they saw this coming, I'm just wondering why that was still the only strategy deployed.
Well,
Jennifer,
Harris, let me, I need to follow up on that, because what you're talking about, if it's more than sanctions, you're talking about sending U.S. troops to Ukraine. Did you
hear General Petard? We had some other options that we could have done around in our NATO countries. It was an interesting conversation. Look, we can Monday morning quarterback, but now it's Thursday and we're trying to look forward. And he said we can still do those things in terms of military bases permanently on the outskirts of this.
And that's what they're discussing today at NATO headquarters. That's what we heard from the Secretary General. That's why the North Atlantic Council is meeting. You can expect discussions about the 40,000 NATO response force being moved into that eastern flank. This is not, again, this is rolling out. If you had put those NATO troops into position before Putin crossed into Ukraine, you would have given him a pretext to go into Ukraine. This has been very calibrated because of the concern that Putin was looking for a pretext to go in. So now you will start seeing certain more permanent basing of NATO forces. But there were very limited options at this late stage in terms of the last 6 months.
I like it. Wow. Okay. So, just a couple of things. Yeah, that was one that I hadn't even considered, of course. But if we had started lining up troops along the border, then he uses that as a pretext to invade. So that's one reason we didn't do it. As far as the sanctions go, I didn't think we'd be serious about the sanctions. Pulling them from SWIFT has had a significant impact, and they do that. When we first covered this before it started, we said the sanctions would probably only have about 20% of the efficacy that one would expect because he has sanction-proofed his economy. Problem is, we're hitting the oligarchs, and we're doing it quite deliberately with the goal of having the oligarchs assassinate him. That's the goal. That's what we did in Crimea. It didn't work, but we now have, as we had reported, I believe it's 4 oligarchs at a minimum who've come out against him. 1 oligarch is dead. We don't know what happened to him right now. It looks like it's natural causes, but 1 oligarch put a $1 million bounty, dead or alive, for Vladimir Putin on LinkedIn. I still haven't checked the terms, the policy, the user policy on LinkedIn, but I've got to believe that violates it. And it's kind of cute because it looks like he was trying to avoid violating LinkedIn's terms of service by not saying dead or alive, saying, anybody who's in the military, just do your constitutional duty. I'll give you $1 million. And then he has the GIF, the poster, wanted dead or alive for mass murder of Vladimir Putin. So that's a new use for LinkedIn. It's creative. But at any rate, I still think I'm hoping, my original call was dead by Sunday. I'm really hoping, but that's a tradition in Russia. And, I hope the sanctions do that. And I think the sanctions, they've gone much further than anyone anticipated. Since we haven't done the oil, there is still a limit. But the problem is it's going to hurt the citizens. It's not going to hurt Putin by himself per se. He's been vulnerable, but the fall of the ruble, the runs on the store, this is going to be very bad to the Russian citizens if they don't do something. So I love her. I've already Jennifer Griffin. That's who it is. Apparently, she's really popular now by the Fox audience. I imagine she's going to have a hard time getting more booking, and she's actually a correspondent for Fox. She's employed by Fox, and between the Hannity, I don't think we played that, but I'm not going to. It was who was it? It was Ducey, a few others. She's making waves. So, and Fox is inadvertently reporting news. Who knew? I didn't see a super chat, so let me quickly get to that. Ow. The Native Atheist, $10. Keep the likes up, folks. Thank you very much. I'll tell you that, really appreciate the super chats. They are a huge help. We do have production costs, obviously, so that really helps offset that. But you know what? Like and subscribe. Great way to help, and it doesn't cost a thing. And also share. If you like a video that we've been doing, say, hey, this is in time. They've been covering it well. That really is a way to help us out. It doesn't cost you a thing. And, if you really like our programming, you're giving it to a buddy and you're helping them out too. So it helps everybody if you like it. So I hope you'll consider that. It really does help. You can also come to our Discord, have a chat with us about, we actually do, philosophy, any sort of culture, gaming, all this stuff on our Discord. Please, we are not like the 24-hour Ukraine channel, and we're trying to get back to other news. But obviously, again, this is going to dominate for a while. So thank you all for coming, and I think I hit all the live chat questions. Let me catch up on the live chat because I haven't. Thank you all. Let's see. I'm gonna disagree there. I do think that the sanctions were severe enough. The SWIFT, one of the problems with the SWIFT too is one of the reasons they wouldn't have cared too much is because they had so many dollars in reserve currency. That's now useless. They're trying to go for gold, but nobody's selling it to them. And no, I think the sanctions are having an impact, and I think that's one reason you are seeing so much protesting and seeing it go live again. As we said at the top of the show, the biggie here, and Putin has gone full out dictator at this point. 12 years, I think it was 17 years for calling this a war instead of a special operation. Oh, that reminds me, I do want to do one other thing before I go. If you call it a war instead of a special operation, it's 12 years, and a law proposed today that is going to say that anybody who gets fined for that, or the way I read it was, even if you're suspected of that, you don't have to be found guilty. You just have to be suspected of protesting, and you can be conscripted into the army to fight at the Ukraine. So, damn. Let me just see what was the other. I think I saw this that I really liked. Okay, so this was from Twitter. I think this is good. So we are trying to get trending at this point. Depose with extreme prejudice, trending, and the other one here, quote, hey, Russians, these aren't sanctions. These are special financial operations. All the world is trying to save you. You're welcome. So, yeah. All right, so join us in the Discord. I'll be in the Discord probably in about 5 minutes after the show. Chat for a little bit. It's really late, so I probably won't stay there too long. But if you want to come in and chat, would love to see you in the Discord. Otherwise, we are planning on seeing you tomorrow, 9 p.m., and we are starting to get back into booking sort of regular shows. Not sure we're going to do that. It's pretty tough to do a regular show and overtime at the same. There's switching. We can do it, but it's a nightmare. So we'd like to get back to the regular shows, but we're not going to stop covering this. So we'll sort it out. And hey, if you want to have a voice in sorting it out, come on in, because we talk with our audience regularly, and our audience actually contributes a lot to the news that we use. So come on in. Look forward to seeing you. And until then, my name is Nick, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Good night.